What is something most people don't realize is a privilege? Having a house, or having parents who love support you, or a childhood home to visit. I had this until I lost my mom to cancer a couple of years ago. I'm in my 20s. Dad remarried and moved to a different house. I still can't believe how perfect it all was before the cancer. Also, dad's new wife is the worst, so it's hard to be around even him at this point. My dad sold my childhood home 3 years after we lost my mom too. That was a really hard time for me, but it also showed me how lucky I was to even have one, as so many don't. Also, luckily we get to keep the memories. Having people assume you are telling the truth. So true. If I call out sick from my current job, my boss says, "Okay, feel better." At toxic old job, I'd get a guilt trip in the 3rd degree. Todge also had us on timers for every single activity because they did not believe we would do our work without them. We were also forced to come into the office on Saturdays because they didn't believe we could handle working from home. No matter what you did or how well you performed, they always believed you were lying to get out of work somehow. It was stressful trying to constantly prove myself and manage their paranoia. Sounds like we worked for the same company. Feeling safe in your own home. Not worrying about rats, mice, roaches, bed bugs, bricks being thrown through windows, violence outside, break-ins. I had bed bugs once. It was awful. Yeah, they don't do any physical harm unless you're allergic, but they have a massive effect on you mentally. You never feel like you're not being eaten in your sleep. I can't see the bedroom the same way anymore. I can't relax in my own bed. Had bed bugs too. Got it from work. It was awful. Got rid of half my stuffed animal collections. So many dry loads. So many black garbage bags. Bug spray. Pest control. Sitting in the car with 2 cats waiting to go back in for the apartment. Spraying your car down. Fun times. The people in the apartment below us had them and let it get real bad. I asked the exterminator guy about it, and he said he wasn't allowed to comment on other people specifically, but that he'd been around a long time and had never seen anything like it. We eventually had to throw away all of our living room furniture. Basically anything with upholstery, and our bed. We also had all of our possessions except for the bare essentials in airtight bags, and because those duckers can live for a year or more without feeding, we moved and lived with almost all our stuff sealed away for over a calendar year. It was difficult, but worth it, because we were all broken down having to deal with them returning while we had a baby on the way. And on the plus side, when we started opening things up again, it was like 100 Christmases at once. Health. Not being in pain. And not having to constantly resign yourself to it being always present. Privacy. I don't mean digital privacy. I mean a room with solid walls and a door that closes. Lots of people don't have that. The apartments I work at are filled with people subleasing. I've walked apartments where the bedrooms have 6 people sleeping there. If they're lucky, they get to sleep in a closet or at least have a curtain covering. Is this legal in your area? That seems like a potential zoning or fire code violation. It's been happening in Sydney and Melbourne, Australia for decades. So many students, both local and international people, immigrating from overseas looking for a better life. These people are living 4 to 8+ person conditions in 2-bedroom apartments in the central business district. Landlords put up flimsy wall dividers and people even pay to sleep on the balcony in a tent. One day, there's going to be a fire. A big one. Only then will something be done about it. The ability to buy a drink or snack outside on the spur of the moment, without thinking about how it would impact your ability to pay for utilities, rent, groceries, essentials. As someone that at one point of their life had a full-time job and had to donate plasma just to pay rent, bills, and have something in my stomach, this hits hard. I'm no longer living in that situation. Thank God. I can't emphasize enough the euphoria I felt after I had just finished purchasing some Starbucks sandwiches and drinks for my family without thought. For no reason other than it was a nice day out, and realized that constant weight of worry and anxiety about money was no longer so forefront. I'm very happy to hear you two have reached that point as well. It's definitely not something to take for granted. Libraries. I think a lot of people who have access to a public library don't appreciate how much of a privilege that is. That's why I always loved volunteering at my library and encouraging those to come to our programs, because without the programs we put on, a lot of those kids wouldn't have a lot of things to do during their summers. Having a vehicle, driving in general basically. Spontaneity in your daily plans. If you're a wheelchair user, that's virtually impossible. So few places have accessible restrooms. Some public transport needs contact multiply 24 hours in advance in order to accommodate you. The list goes on. I envy people who can just go with the flow. To have people around who can and will help. Edit whoa. This has impacted me in so many ways. I didn't qualify for enough in student loans government assistance because it was just assumed my parents were giving me hundreds a month in assistance. So that imaginary amount was deducted from my benefits. I'm not alone. This has hurt me so much. I literally got kicked out at 18 and live on my own. But because my dad earns 170k a year, I missed most aid. Apparently he is expected to give me 20k a year. Well, duck. Why is no one explaining this to you guys? That you can and should have gotten it. I feel like school financial counselors are doing a piss poor job overall. Having two good parents. Heck. Having one. Yep, I can attest to this. I have one shitty parent and one great parent. I'd probably be on the streets somewhere if I had no guidance from my one good parent. As a relatively new parent of two little ones, what made one parent shitty and one parent great? My wife is amazing. How do I avoid being a shitty one or the shitty one? One of my biggest fears. Sanitary products for women. It's different in different parts of the world, economic backgrounds, not to mention access to birth control. Education, which is shocking, given that education in the US is often seen as worse than a full-time job. Your busiest and most miserable times are high school and college. Definitely agree. I've traveled to third world countries and some kids would do anything to get an opportunity to gain an education and improve their life, because usually that's the only way compared to here where there are other opportunities. Being able to just quit a job you don't like. Having access to water and a sewage system. Also, the abundance of food in Western supermarkets is quite frankly insane. Every day I try and spend a moment to reflect on how lucky I am. Came here to say the same. Clean drinking water from the tap in the house. Not having chronic pain. I'm in this picture and I don't like it. I just want to have no pain for like 5 minutes. Uninterrupted power supply. Hard agree. Whenever there is a major thunderstorm in my area, I always think, please don't let the power go out. Losing power anytime sucks, but especially now when it's 90+ degrees F or 32+ degrees Celsius and 80% humidity. I live in the Phoenix area. If it's slightly breezy, I lose power. If it's over 110, I lose power. And if there is any lightning, you guessed it, I lose power. If there is ever any rain, I lose power. If it gets below 50, I lose power. I lose power at least twice a month. Edit because I keep getting asked the same questions. 1N. Mesa. 2 1980s. 3 This is a my neighborhood issue for sure. Previous houses I've owned have not been this bad, but I've still lost power in big storms. And when we've had floods in those homes, usually a few times a year. 4 We are moving as soon as an elderly family member who has dementia passes. So batteries, solar, whatever else doesn't make financial sense. 5 SRP. 6 They started a project to improve it at the beginning of 2020, but it got put on hold because of COVID. Work has started again, but is slow. 7 Most outages are less than a few minutes long, and we have stopped bothering to reset the clock on the microwave. Some we don't even notice because it was at night, and just a couple of things will be turned off that were not before, like my desktop computer. 8 We have a generator big enough to power a small window AC unit and a light. It's been enough for us. We are getting out of here soon. Undercooked chicken. Lose power. Overcooked chicken. Believe it or not. Lose power. Going about your daily life without seriously worrying about your physical safety. Sleeping at night without worrying about whether a bomb is going to come through your roof. Yeah, walking home at night and actually enjoying it. Not worrying and looking behind your back. This is a big one. I'm glad therapy is becoming less stigmatized. But the everyone should go to therapy crowd acts like it's free. Absolutely. I'm a therapist and a more common thought that everyone should go to therapy to get fixed is just insane. Therapy is not for everyone. And there are so many different types and approaches to therapy. It's not a catch-all solution. I have seen more and more I don't really wanna be here, but my insert person in life told me I should. You're going to get as much out of therapy as you put into it. I think you need therapy has become a condition people impose on people more and more. You can't do therapy until you're ready for it, even if you could benefit from it. And once you are ready for it, you then have issues of access and finding the right one. Criticizing your own government. More and more countries are banning protests. Heck, just last week, an Australian journalist was locked up by a politician's counter-terrorism goon squad. Running water 24/7 and most of 365 days. Stable electricity, the kind that doesn't shoot light bulbs out of their sockets. Same traffic patterns. Mostly clean fresh air. Stocked shelves in the supermarket. Been to Nigeria and Sierra Leone and it lacks all of this. Has water. Isn't always running. Had electric that cuts out often. Traffic is nightmarish and no one fears death. Air smells like well turds. Supermarkets are hit and miss. Amazing shawarma and KFC though. Being able-bodied. So many people are one accident away from being unemployed and don't realize that. Your job will ruin your body, be aware and fight it. Learning how to swim. Still surprises me lots of people never knew how to swim. Which is basic skill for most. It may save your life someday. In Alberta and apparently several other provinces, it's actually part of the school gym curriculum. So most people aren't great swimmers, but they are still passable. I'm from the US, but lived in NFLD for 3 years. They were serious about swimming in my class. I was about 5th grade at the time. So 10. We had 3 competitive swimmers just in my class. I would have never expected it. But we had access to a giant pool complex with giant diving towers and everything. Really nice place. But yeah, swimming was done every year for a few months for gym. We'd all load up twice a week and head over. Easy access to food. So many people go hungry for a variety of reasons, from the food just isn't there to drought to lack of money. If there was an embargo and food could not get to the stores, there would be a huge freak out. For those who deal with it all the time, not a big deal. I sometimes wish that everyone in the world could briefly experience lack of food. Just that feeling of laying in bed and vividly imagining every scrap of food you've ever thrown away in your life. And so desperately wishing you could have that right now. Just for a moment. Not to torture people or anything. Just to make them understand. Just once is all I think it would take to instill a lot of compassion and stop a lot of food waste. I didn't know that people's parents give their kids cars like for their 16th birthday or for passing the driver's test. Completely blew my mind. Edit for clarification, anyone who saved or earned their car. You don't apply to this. I considered myself lucky that my sister and I got to share a crappy 99 Dodge Neon. Because I was lucky to have a car at all and many of my classmates didn't. Then I went to college and met my now boyfriend, whose parents are very well off and generous people, and found out his parents bought him a brand new car at 16. It was just a Nissan Versa, but still, I was mind blown. Though their investment did pay off, because we still drive that car 12 years later. Having a working body, with 2 arms and 2 legs, that all work as they should. Knowing a fire truck is on its way when there is a fire. Having a public library. Air conditioning. Television. The internet. Flushing toilets. Hot and cold running water. Eat. Multiply 4 walls and a roof. Being able to sleep on a bed. Peace and quiet. The ability to sleep without doing that on edge. Hyper alert half sleep. Having 2, 3 really good friends you can tell anything to. The ability to read. It's the closest to witchcraft we have imagined. Having a paper-based product that contains the answers to many questions and the formula for improving your life. Then imagine being able to teach people the mysteries within. Then imagine being able to copy it or pass it on so others can do the same. The ability to actually invest money. 60+% I think of Americans live paycheck to paycheck and are unable to invest in assets to grow their wealth. Just saving money and invest isn't as easy as what Robinhood makes it out to be. Having an air-conditioned home. Edit if you're reading this. Don't scroll past the replies on this comment. Some of these stories are well worth a read. Having a garbage truck that picks up your trash and being able to flush toilet paper. Having your own room to sleep in. Stable internet connection or access at all. And new non-hand-me-down clothes. Literally anything you enjoy about your life will be seen as a privilege by someone with less. So I guess my answer is everything. Having the ability to express an opinion. Free speech is very censored in a lot of the world. Clean drinking water. China is about to realize that in a decade or two. Physical safety. I learned to appreciate this recently. I'm a big dude 6 feet 2. 220 pounds. Kind of fit. My chest sticks out more than my tummy. I'm almost never harassed because I'm physically intimidating. Even working late nights in the city, I almost always feel safe. Talking with one of my female students, I realized she has to deal with the fear of being assaulted or worse, but also has to deal with people giving her guff all the time, and knowing if she pushes back things could escalate. Men are the big people. Don't harass, bully or intimidate people just because it's clear you could beat them up. Being able to be severely ill without losing your house, or without immediately losing your income. I have been so privileged living in the Netherlands. I'm aware of it every day. Edit wow. Thanks for the award.